The flight was cancelled twice. This was very embarrassing for the president and very embarrassing for the American people. So the pressure was now on, launch it next time. No more mistakes. To save time, they left it out on the launch pad. What they should have done is bring it into the vehicle assembly building, the big white building, and keep it warm. But that would save time. Unfortunately, this is where their luck ran out, because the weather in Florida was the worst weather they had ever had. It got really cold, it rained, the winds blew, and it blew for 27 days around that spaceship, which should have been in that white building, nice and warm. Guess how many degrees Fahrenheit it was lower than the January before? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 degrees Fahrenheit lower. How do you think the engineers reacted when they saw this data? Just stop the flight. It is insane. That was the state of Challenger. That was done. NASA were furious, absolutely furious. How dare you stop the Christa McCauley flight? You can't prove that it's going to blow up. The meeting went on and on and on. Eventually, at midnight, all the senior managers of Morton Thiokol were left talking to NASA. They wheeled in the 3 engineers who designed the O-rings, Roger Bosley, the chief one, plus his 2 deputies, and they said, try and convince NASA and us that it's going to blow up. And they said, we've given you all the proof. And they said, NASA don't like the answer. Now, we know what happened next because people had to, under sworn testimony, put the conversation back together. I'm going to show you a video. It's only 4 minutes long. It's a BBC video. It's not Hollywood gone mad. And what you're going to see is actors playing that final meeting. I'll just draw the layout of the room. You've got a big table, and at the top, you've got the 3 engineers, the people who knew the O-rings were going to fail. On the other side of the table are all the senior managers of Morton Thiokol, 3 deep. They're speaking on a squawk box to Huntsville and to Houston, NASA. So no one can see anyone else's face. It's just noises coming down a phone. The pressure is on. It's late at night. So that's the real Roger Bosley in the year 2000. This is him again. This is the BBC actor playing him at this meeting. Are you with this so far? Watch the video. Watch the body language of the people involved. And okay, hopefully you're never going to be involved in a life or death decision on a software development, but you might be. We were saying this morning that working on aeroplanes, you certainly had to. So watch the body language of the technical people involved in this project.
Look at the photographs. Look at the physical evidence. This is showing us the temperature is a discriminator.
We asked for 5 minutes. We've been getting comments for near on 20. Seems to me that everyone said what they think. Said it moreover several times. If anyone's got anything new to add, I think we ought to get it out on the table, but there's nothing to be gained by just rehashing. We spent a lot of time here looking at numbers and so forth and calculations. And we're going to have to take that information and do some management with it. It's time to make a management decision, because we're just spinning our wheels here otherwise. Intensity of argument's one thing. Data's another. I don't feel we have a strong enough case. Well, we can talk about intuition and hunches and the feeling that it's headed in the wrong direction, but our data is not conclusive. And I cannot disagree with Mr. Malloy. My position is we recommend launch.
What?
Cal, what do you think?
I think we're okay to launch.
My feeling is, it's okay.
Bob, what do you think? Bob, it's time to take off your engineering hat and put on your management hat.
Well, I guess it's all right to launch.
Then I guess we're unanimous.
I was sick when I perceived that the managers were discussing rationale that would change the decision from a no launch to a launch decision. I had felt all along during that whole day that there was essentially 100% probability that it was going to fail if they launched anywhere around the freezing temperature. And that was basically because of what I had witnessed the year before. And I was sick about it, but I was powerless.
MTI assessment of temperature concern on SRM 2551L launch. Temperature data not conclusive on predicting primary O-ring blowby.
This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 2 hours, 28 minutes and counting. Here comes the 51L flight crew boarding the elevator.
Engineering assessment
For the second time in 2 days.
is that if the primary seal does not seat, the secondary seal will seat. Pressure will get to secondary seal before the metal parts rotate, which minimizes sealing time.
Now McNair, pilot Mike Smith, followed by Krista McCullough, feature in space.
MTI recommends STS-51L launch proceed on 28 January 1986. SRM-25 will not be significantly different from SRM-15.
Commander Dick Scobie now in the White Room, along with Mike Smith, who is the pilot.
Are there any disagreements with the thigh call position? No, well then this meeting is adjourned. You let us have that immediately in writing, will you?
T-minus 7 minutes, 30 seconds. And the ground launch sequencer has started retracting the orbiter crew access arm.
He just rammed it down our throats.
8, 7, 6. We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it is cleared the tower.
Control program confirmed. Challenger now heading downrange. Throttling down now at 94%. Normal throttles for most of the plane, 104%.
Okay, terrible pictures, no one died. All the astronauts survived. This was suppressed for a few years for the sake of the families, which I can fully understand. But in fact, the photographs show that the crew compartment came away in a single-piece unit, and they know from the autopsies that all of the astronauts were alive after the explosion. What killed them was actually hitting the sea 2.5 minutes later. NASA, basically, huge investigation. Good technical skills, too much management, too little leadership and respect. Low empowerment, low integrity, poor communication, vague ownership, fear of escalation, spreading problems, no one vision, low trust level, silo mentality and complacency. And NASA were banned from flying again until they fixed those things. Unfortunately, NASA fixed them with compliance documents, with more procedures, with more forms, with more signatures. The problem was not about compliance, it was about culture, and they failed to address it. So they started launching them again. They had 3 O-rings now, and they were all heated, and everything seemed to be okay, but NASA had not dealt with their cultural issues. Communication was still appalling, and it was waiting for an accident to happen. And that's the thing. Accidents occur when decisions are made by leaders who cannot remember what the consequences were last time. It's like we will have another banking crisis within 4 years, I think, because I don't think the banking community has learned from 2007. Wasn't helped by Daniel Goldin, who was the CEO of NASA, had a rather positive attitude. Faster, cheaper, better. When I ask for a budget to be cut, and I'm told it's going to impact on safety, I think that is a bunch of crap. Now, if you have a leader using words like that, it's time to leave the company. Columbia. Unfortunately, this is when it all happened again. This was a mission that NASA really weren't that interested in. They had to get a whole bunch of people from Israel, from India, up, do some, would you believe, teaching in space, and get down on time. Why on time? Because the next mission after this one was the important one. Basically, they had to finish the International Space Station. It was behind schedule, and NASA had been told if they are late on this, then their budget could be considerably reduced. So the pressure was on, get Columbia up and get it down on time. What happened? Well, a piece of insulating foam came off the main tank. It shouldn't have come off. Smaller pieces had come off before, but NASA had said, well, it didn't blow up the spaceship, so it should be okay. So it's what we call normalization of deviance, an acceptance that something's wrong, but ignore it. This time, unfortunately, the piece of foam that came off was not 1 or 2 millimeters big. It was about the size of an iPad. And it actually came off from the top of the shuttle. Here it comes, and it hits the left wing. And hit the wing at a relative speed of 738 kilometers per hour. If I threw an iPad at you at 738 kilometers per hour, I suggest it would cause a lot of damage. The engineers saw it from the ground, did the maths, mv squared is not exactly difficult, and worked out that the heat shield, the black bit underneath that you need to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere because of the heat, had been damaged. Now, they're in space. Perfectly safe, but you think there's a hole possibly in the wing that's going to kill them in 10 days' time. Now, you're not space scientists. If you think there's a hole in the wing, but you're not sure, what should you go and do? Take a look. It's not what we call rocket scientists. Unfortunately, if they had to do a spacewalk to go and see if the thing really was badly damaged, that would take time, which meant that Columbia would land late, which meant that the next flight would take off late, and NASA could lose their budget. So what they decided to do was this: ignore the problem. Ron Didmore, a very good man, but under extreme pressure. They admitted that they knew about the tile damage, but they just didn't want to inspect, because if they inspected, they'd find a problem. His own words: we didn't believe that pictures would be useful to us. We felt there was nothing we could have done anyway, so we decided not even to take them. Ignore the problem, it might go away. Well, it didn't. And for 10 days, the engineers said, this is insane. Stop this, go out and have a look. If it's damaged, we might be able to do something to save them. But if there's a hole out there and you haven't looked, when they come in 10 days' time, they're all going to die. The decision was made, we won't go. And if we don't go, we won't find the evidence. If we don't find the evidence, perhaps we'll be lucky. Some of the emails that were going around inside NASA between the technical people. Any reports on the tile damage, or are we just crossing our fingers and hoping for the best? It kind of says it'll probably be all right. Now, I'm flying tomorrow back to London. Can you imagine if I was at the end of Colombo Airport and another plane runs into us and bits fall off the plane, and the pilot comes on the intercom and says, ladies and gentlemen, you may have noticed that several pieces have fallen off the plane. I'm going to cross my fingers and hope for the best. I've spoken to the air stewardess and she kind of thinks that we're probably not going to die. You know, I would be out of the emergency exit first. This man is mad. But that's what NASA went for. On the 1st of February 2003, they brought it in. They knew exactly what was going to happen, and it happened. What was going to happen was that the tiles were knocked off, The high temperatures would go inside the wing, would burn out all the transducers on the left-hand side of the wing. The tyre pressures would increase because the tyres are inside the wing. If they're heated up, they're going to increase. Eventually the wing would fold up, and then the whole craft would tumble and blow up. And that's exactly what happened.
GNC flight?
Flight GNC.
Everything looked good to you? Control and rates and everything is nominal, right?
Control's been stable. You have good trims. I don't see anything out of the ordinary.
Okay.
Then, just 22 minutes before touchdown, at 8:54 in the morning, there was an unusual reading from one of the shuttle's many sensors.
Go ahead.
FYI, I've just lost 4 separate temperature transducers on the left side of the vehicle, hydraulic return temperatures.
4 high return temps?
To the left outboard, left inboard L1.
And Columbia, Houston, we see your tire pressure messages and we did not count
Is it
your last.
instrumentation, Max?
Flight Max, those are also off.
Columbia, Houston, comm check. Columbia, Houston, UHF 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 comm check.
At 9:16, the truth dawned on Mission Control. The space shuttle had been lost.
Okay, now that was actual NASA footage, that's not actors. You may notice Leroy Kane, when he turned around, did you notice he was actually crying? Big, tough American mission controller in floods of tears because he realized what they'd done. Columbia Accident Investigation Board was damning. It said basically that NASA had good technical skills, but too much management, too little leadership, integrity, low empowerment, respect. Do you remember any of this? And it actually said this is the same accident, different technical fault. It's the culture that's the matter. Change the culture. The astronauts could have been saved. A rescue mission was challenging but entirely feasible. If they'd known about the damage to the wings, they would have left them in orbit. They had 30 days of oxygen and food. It would have been perfectly acceptable. They would have then launched a second shuttle. They would have done a shuttle-to-shuttle transfer, brought them home, and it would now be a Hollywood movie with Schwarzenegger and Tom Hanks giving it wide. Okay, so you've had a failure for the second time. This time NASA really did sort themselves out. They changed the culture. Basically what they have now is one vision, one empowered team. Big picture, always think big picture. What's it all about? More leadership, less management. Fast and adaptive process. If something is working slowly, change it until it does it faster but just as well. Rotate people around departments so they walk in other people's shoes. Mentoring, don't fire the older people. Some of them have a good story to tell. Partnerships with suppliers, not I'm the boss, you're the supplier. We're in this together. Listening, everyone had to go on a listening skills course. Communication skills, fierce conversations, political correctness, forget it. If we got an issue, we will get excitable about it. We won't blame each other, but we'll get very angry about the issue and do something about it. Engage and challenge. Stories, lots of stories now in NASA. Fun, they decided that NASA was not a fun place to work and therefore was not innovative. And if you don't believe me on this one, Albert Einstein, one of the greatest minds that we as a species have ever created, when he was asked how he was so creative, he said, creativity is easy. All you have to do is get intelligent people together and let them have fun. I hope you have fun in your organizations, yes? When I walk in through the doors, everyone's laughing, yes? Okay. And lunches. Now, actually, all of that I would define as agile. So you are in the agile world with NASA now. 2005, they got a certificate to actually fly again. It's been up many times since, bringing back the most amazing data about our world and how fragile our planet is. An amazing craft. And taking pictures of your fine country as well. That's what it looks like from the space shuttle. 2011 was a very sad date for mankind because it was the last shuttle flight. It's a very old craft and is now no flying anymore. And if you want to get into space, you'll have to fly with the Russians, who I met in vast quantities on your beaches yesterday. Okay. I'd love to be able to say that Virgin will do it, but of course they had a tragedy 2 weeks ago when their craft failed.